Started here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Eddie. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. The Our Driving Concern Employer Traffic Safety Program is pleased to be able to offer the Employer Distracted Driving Program It's a Good Thing webinar. I want to welcome our presenter this morning, Eddie T. I'm sorry, Eddie, I'm not going to try. Eddie is the Training and Development Supervisor with Oklahoma Safety Council in Tulsa. He is joined by Tom Graham, who is the Senior Safety Coordinator with the City of Tulsa. A few things to note before we get started. Everyone will be muted, but you do have the ability to type questions by clicking on the chat button in the upper right-hand corner of your screen during the webinar. The presenter may answer your question during the presentation or choose to address the questions at the end. I believe Eddie and Tom would like to address questions at the end for this particular one. If you should encounter any problems or issues, please type a message to let us know. The presenter and the Our Driving Concerns Program Manager's contact information will be made available on the last slide. There's a very brief post-event survey at the conclusion of the webinar, and as this program is funded through grant dollars and provided at no cost to employers, we would greatly appreciate your giving us your feedback. You can receive a copy of this presentation by requesting it in the post-event survey notes. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Eddie. Give me just a second here. Sorry about that.
Before you get off, or whatever's going to happen, we don't have the presentation on our. There it comes. I guess it's coming. Here it goes.
Da da da. Do you see it now?
Yeah. Did you give me control?
Give me just 1 second. Should be all yours, Eddie.
Okay, there it is. Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Eddie Tijerina, and I'm sitting here with Tom Graham. Say hi, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
And I want to let you all know that it is storming here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we've had some power flickers, so hopefully we won't have any issues, but just want to let you know that before we get started. So we're going to be talking about we're excited, actually, to really talk about this program that the City of Tulsa implemented several years ago. And the title of our webinar is, of course, Employers Distracted Driving Programs. It's a good thing. So we'll get started here. So the reason the City of Tulsa, and like I said, I'm no longer with the City of Tulsa. I just recently retired from there, but I was there when we implemented this program, and Tom was there as well, and he helped. He was a great help to get this going. The reason that we implemented it was the inattentive at-fault collisions were trending up. And so just like, for example, nationally, the distracted driving collisions, we called our distracted driving inattentive collisions. And so nationally, distracted driving events were trending up as well. I don't see my graph. There it is. You can see at the left, here I'll point to it. Let me get my pointer going. Uh-oh, that wasn't it. There it is. You can see here in 2008 we had 5, and then it starts to trend upwards, maxing out in 2014 at 11 distracted driving or inattentive collisions, at-fault collisions. As soon as we implemented the policy and program in 2015, in May of 2015, as you can see, we had 4 for that entire year, and then in 2016 it went to 0. So that's really powerful that this program worked. The main things that we wanted to make sure that we got across to our employees and to our leadership was that we needed to protect our employees, the organization, and our community, and our citizens in that community as well, from what's been called the national epidemic of distracted driving. So those three things were kind of our foundation and our vision for making this particular program work, and everything that we implemented going forward, we went back to those three things: protect the employees, the organization, and the community. If it didn't fit in those three categories, it wasn't going to be a part of our program. Bullet number 3, you can see it says promote responsible use. We really use that word a lot with our employees. We continue to use that phrase, responsible use, meaning we knew employees needed to use these tools, but in a responsible way. And when I say tools, we're talking about cell phones, laptops, mobile.
Any of the electronic devices used in their job.
And, you know, that's so important that they continue to use those, just not while they're driving. So that's where the term responsible use came from. We need you to use these, but in a responsible way. And that would be not driving. So also, bullet 4, we also intended to be a leader and a role model for other public and private organizations. We wanted to share our program as much as possible once we got it up and running and make sure it worked well. And we've done that, actually. That was part of our mission to help other public and private organizations out with our distracted driving awareness program, and hopefully motivate others to implement similar programs. And actually that's happened. We've gotten a lot of calls from other private and public organizations as well to ask, how did you guys do that? You know, what worked, what didn't work? So, and they're still, I know the City of Tulsa probably still fielding calls and helping people out. Also, one more important thing about this program was we wanted to make sure it transcended to non-work life. So, for example, you know, once our employees understood what was, why this was so important, that it would transcend to their non-work life, to their families, to their friends, to their communities even. So we made sure we implemented programming for that as well. One thing we like to tell our drivers is every driver out there is distracted. It doesn't matter if it's cell phones or some other electronic device. It could be eating, drinking, grooming, you name it. Can you think of a couple more, Tom, distracted events that you've seen?
Oh, one of them that comes up is more frequent is the pets in the car.
Pets in the car, yeah. So that's what the message we got to our employees. Every day they go out there, they have encounters with other vehicles, possibly 50 encounters, 100 encounters, maybe thousands of encounters, these brief encounters with other people, other drivers, and those other drivers are making decisions for you. So you have to be attentive to be able to know that they're distracted and that you're going to be able to be attentive and know that that you can take evasive action or whatever it may be to keep from being hit. So we made sure they knew that, and we wanted them to remain focused on their driving. Because one thing we wanted to be sure about was that we didn't want our employees to experience a traumatic event. For example, you know, if they hit someone because they were distracted and they caused injury or even death, we did not want them to have to live with that the rest of their life. That was one of the motivating factors as well. These are life-changing events, these distracted driving events, and I know it just it can be a real issue. We know several people that have been in these events and have lost loved ones, and so we want to make sure our employees didn't have to go through that. So that was the message. Every time they drive, they may have hundreds and thousands of encounters each day with vehicles. And just know every driver's you encounter is distracted. So we want to make sure that you're not distracted so you can be safe that day. The other part of this is employer liability. We want to protect our organization. It's becoming more and more of a litigious situation, distracted driving events. Wouldn't you say, Tom?
Yes, absolutely. You're seeing more and more people out in the news, you might say, that's being confronted with major lawsuits associated with people, their employees that have been convicted, so to speak, of driving distracted.
So if you don't have a policy in place, that even makes it more easy on the attorneys to gain more money and makes you even more liable. So we had to protect the employer. The other part was, as on bullet 2, we needed to make sure the employees knew what their expectations were for the employer. So that was another important reason why you want to have a policy, and within that policy, make sure that it defines the expectations put upon the employees. And of course, all that, when you have that policy and you put a program in place that works, of course you're going to save money, and your efficiency is going to increase, and your inefficiencies are going to decrease. So, in the beginning, at the inception of the program, we knew we wanted the employees to know it from the heart. The reason for that is most of them are driving by themselves. We can't monitor compliance. So we needed them to understand why this is important, why they needed to put down their phones, not answer it when it's called, not look at paperwork, eat and drink when they're parked, things like that, because since they're by themselves, we needed to know that they understood that and they could make the proper decision. So we went to implement this program, and actually the leadership wasn't ready. Many of you have probably encountered the same issue. You've got a program that needs to be implemented, but leadership wasn't ready for it. For example, communications have become an important part of our business plan, our program, and being able to use that phone, that instantaneous communication was so important that we became accustomed to it. It became a culture, basically.
Yeah, there was a lot of the initial reaction from some departments was we can't do our job without you being on the phone driving down the road.
Right. I remember our building inspections group was very concerned about that because they had contractors calling the inspectors all the time, and we're ready for our inspection. Can you come over now? So they had a good reason why they didn't want to do this. But as we go on into this presentation, you'll see that actually it did not decrease our inefficiency or our efficiencies. In fact, we were just as efficient not using the phones while we're driving as if we were. So another thing you want to make sure you do, if leadership's not ready, if you have a safety program there or safety leaders, keep going anyway. Train from the grassroots efforts. Make sure that your employees know how dangerous the distracted driving issue is. We started back in 2011, and what I mean by grassroots, we just started by asking a manager if we could borrow their employees for about an hour. And we would talk to them about distracted driving. We bring in experienced professionals. For example, we were very fortunate to have a postal police officer who was also the public officer for our group, and he was very, very good at talking about distracted driving. And then we also used some professional resources like the National Safety Council.
David Teeters came in. That was
yeah. And the National Safety Council helped us, and the Oklahoma Safety Council helped us bring in David Teeters to talk to our leadership about that. So you want to have your program pre-made. We had ours ready to go. We had a policy pre-written. We had a program and a rollout ready to go with our educational program. So whenever leadership was ready, we were too. We were ready to implement it as soon as possible.
When the mayor got on board too, that was
a
big time.
Absolutely. So now we want to talk about the educational rollout and how we did it. So we announced the program. Once leadership said, yeah, let's do this, we need to do this, we announced the policy and the program in, I think it was early 2015, probably around January, I believe. And we used we have a communications department. We used their services. They created some branded messages for us, and some they made sure that our message was constant and consistent. And then employees were told about that in 2015, I believe it was in April.
April's whenever it actually came out.
In April, and then that's when we had David Teeter come talk to our employees, especially our leadership group, because there was some leadership that still wasn't on board yet. They were either on the fence or not on board at all. But once Mr. Teeter spoke to them, it's like a light bulb turning on for that group. They got it. They understood. So it was not expensive, actually, to bring him in, and it was one of the best money we've spent.
Yep.
Because it actually got the ball rolling, and because this isn't going to work unless leadership is going to back it.
It also coincided with National Distracted Driving Month, if I remember.
Yeah, we waited to roll out everything until April, which was National Distracted Driving Awareness Month, so that just worked out perfectly. So also as part of our rollout, we made sure that we created a PowerPoint for our employees to watch, and also for the supervisors to go back over with the employees. It was a very simple PowerPoint. And then our communications department created a very simple and powerful, educational video to go along with it. So that was really nice to have. And hopefully we can watch that here in just a few minutes. I also used a training hack. I call it a training hack. It was to show employees the difference, or why distracted driving, for example, phone versus, or handheld versus non-handheld, or hands-free, I guess is what we call it. And in this training hack, I used you've probably seen it before. It's called, let's see, I can't remember what it's called now. The monkey business illusion. So we used that, and I'm happy if you want to contact me. I've got my contact information at the end of this presentation on how we use that to demonstrate inattention blindness, and also why hands-free is not any more safer than handheld. And so once we showed that to them, that really lit up some bulbs for them as well. Of course, we used a receipt of policy when we gave everybody, all employees, a policy, and I think we have 3,500 employees. And we had quite a rollout plan going, and everybody was able to read the policy. They signed off on a receipt of policy, that they understood the policy and they received it. And then we continued to constantly, and like I said, consistently send out that message to employees about distracted driving, why it's unsafe, constant reminders. We lean heavily on middle supervision and frontline supervision to continue that message to the employees on a daily or weekly basis. So because in the beginning it was easy to forget. And when that phone rang, it was a reaction.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a reaction to just pick it up and answer it because we were so used to doing that. So we want to make sure that we kept that message out there that, hey, this is no longer what we do here at the City of Tulsa. And you need to pull over and take that call them back, set your ringtones differently for calls that you know are important. For example, your supervisor, if they're calling you, it's okay not to answer it. And supervision's okay with that. Leadership's okay with that, not to answer it right away, but to pull over, find a safe place, pull over, and then call them as soon as you can. So some key phrases we used in our policy were value the safety and well-being of our employees. We want to make sure that our policy pointed out that it was about the safety of the employees, not just money-saving and cost-saving things, and liability. It was about the employees' safety. We also used responsible use and prohibits the use, key phrases like that. We kept reminding them that this was to protect the employee, to protect the organization, protect the community. These were all policy words that we used in our policy. And then we also included the operation of heavy equipment in our policy as well. We wanted to make sure that the people that were out there, using excavators, that were digging around, for example, gas lines and communication lines. What do you call those communication lines? Those
fiber optics.
The fiber optic lines that are extremely expensive to repair once you've torn them up, and put other businesses out of communication as well. So we want to make sure our operators knew that they weren't, even though they weren't driving something, they were operating something, and they needed to be attentive as well and not use their phone or even a hands-free device. And then we included passenger responsibilities, as you'll see on bullet 2. We want our passengers to be good co-pilots, so we put that in the policy as well. Yes, they're able to use their phone for business purposes as long as it's not distracting the driver or very short-term personal use. But we didn't want them using social media or playing games on their phone when they needed to be alert and paying attention to the road as well. So we made sure we included that in our policy. We had some emergency exclusions as well. For example, all our employees know that if they're going to have, if they witness emergency, something of an imminent danger, that the employee could use their phone at that point to call that in if they couldn't pull over in time. So we included that emergency exclusion as well. We use responsibilities for all of our different levels of employees, from frontline all the way to the management, top leadership, what their responsibilities are with this program. And then we had what would happen if they did not comply, and that's what non-compliance language means. What was going to happen if they didn't comply with this policy? And so that was very clear to them as well. We made sure that they knew what the exceptions were in the policy as well. For example, we still allow the use of two-way radio systems, mainly because we've been using those for years and years now. And those are very short-term conversations, and generally it's usually when the employee's pulled over anyway. And it's maybe just a radio call number, or it's this dispatch calling out something for them to go do real quick, and it's just a 10-4 or whatever it may be on that. And or if we're doing a wide load, and we've got what do you call those vehicles that surround your wide load? Pilots, escorts, pilot vehicles, so they can stay in touch with each other. And of course, we had to put in public safety language in there for our public safety employees. Even the bad guys are going to continue to use their phones while they're doing their bad things. So There's times when our public safety employees needed to use a cell phone during emergency situations, but they also knew that law enforcement and our firefighters knew that whenever possible they needed to pull over to use their phones or their laptops or whatever it may be. So we included those as well. So we knew that compliance with the policy was going to be challenging to enforce. Many of our employees are alone while driving, so that was one of the reasons we wanted to feel that this was not an enforced work procedure, but rather the right thing to do. That's where mindfulness comes in. We also made sure that our distracted driving program was very public. We let the media know about it, and they did a really good job of covering it and getting it out there to all our community and surrounding communities as well, that this is what the City of Tulsa is doing. They're doing it not just for the protection of their employees, but also for the protection of their community as well. So we wanted to make sure that our community knew this is for you as well, and hopefully that some of the businesses out there and other public entities would see this and want to do it as well. We have consequences for noncompliance, which would be for city employees, we call it a pre-termination hearing. And that means that after an investigation is over and it's determined that they were actually using their cell phone or distracted driving in some way, after the investigation we'd have a hearing with them to go over what we found out. And every situation I can think of, the employee admitted to they were distracted at the time. And most of the time it was for a personal reason. And a lot of times it may be something, for example, what was the one you gave me earlier?
We had one where an employee's their mother was literally passing away, and they answered the phone while they were driving, and another employee observed it and turned it in.
So this particular employee's mother was in a situation where they knew, unfortunately, that she was going to pass on. So, but the deal is they chose to take that call. They could have pulled over and called back. And so, you know, it's bad enough that somebody's losing their mother, but we don't want to put anybody else in danger by answering that phone call. So, you know, we have to explain that to them. This is the reason why we're doing this. I think we're running short on time, but we're going to try to power through this real quick. So after program, what happened after our program? Well, I showed you earlier, you know, our statistics, how the distracted driving, our at-fault collisions went way down. In fact, it went to 0 for at-fault collisions. Once again, I think this phrase is key to the whole program. We have to protect our employees, the organization, and community. And if you're trying to talk leadership into having a distracted driving program and you haven't had one yet, or maybe you have a fleet safety program that doesn't include that, these are the reasons we use. Protect our employees, protect our organization, and our community. Of course, after the program is implemented, you still have to consistently give training on distracted driving. You know, I think we have, how many new employees do you have each month?
We do 2 new employee orientation sessions every month, and we go over the policy third slide in the presentation.
Yeah. And then they also, all employees, whether they're in driving positions or not, go through this training.
All of them do.
And that's the part where we want to make sure that it goes home with them as well, so it transfers to their non-work life. And then they also, all employees, whether they're in driving positions or not, go through defensive driving classes as well. So after an informal poll of our leadership, what they said to us was, you know what, there's no decrease in our efficiency. We thought there was going to be, but there really isn't. In fact, we've become better planners. We don't rely on that instant communication to give direction to our employees. We actually think things through on a daily, monthly, weekly, whatever it may be, planning situation. And so we're actually maybe possibly more efficient in that way. They still call their employees, but they don't expect any return call back immediately. That's why, as part of that informal poll that we talked to our employees, the frontline employees said, you know what, we feel a lot less stressed because we don't feel that obligation to answer that phone when our supervisor or our manager calls us, or even the mayor when the mayor may be calling you. They understand that we can call them back. And so we've got a new culture now at the City of Tulsa where that particular situation is okay. You know, that you're not going to get that immediate response from your employee. It may take a few minutes or longer. So after we implemented the program, we actually had 5 pre-termination hearings for employees who were caught using their, I think it was their phones in all 5 situations while driving. So, and each one of those since it was first offense, no one was terminated. But they all, I think the first offense was 3 days off. If you were caught doing it again, it was going to be termination. And of course, that spread quickly in the grapevine. Yep. And so employees got the message that we are serious about this. So once again, one of the key phrases we used in the entire program was responsible use. We wanted to make sure that employees understood that these tools, these communication tools, these mobile electronic communication tools are vital to be able to do our job, but we have to know when we can use them and when we cannot. And when we cannot is when we're driving or operating equipment, or if we're a co-pilot or a passenger, you know, we need to limit our use as well. So here's this video. I hope it works. And after this video, it will be over. It did not work. Let me go back.
I'll go ahead and take it over, Eddie. That way I can get it going. Oh.
Okay.
Me.
Well, if everybody's still there, we really appreciate you attending this webinar today. And Tom Graham's information will be up here in just a minute. And you can contact him about the City of Tulsa's program and policy as well. You guys share your policy, right? Sure. Yeah. They're willing to share their policy with anybody who wants to look at it and maybe build a program for themselves or for their organization.
Okay, while I'm getting that up, it looks like Barry Barrington said, really like the responsible use language, so you contribute the drop in your numbers to implementing accountability when they know their expectations. If you want to go ahead and answer that, I'll go ahead and get the video up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can't have a policy without expectations, and you can't expect employees to do what you want them to do if they don't know what the expectations are. And if this video will roll for you all, you'll see that we put that in the video. We outline what's expected of them and how they are to respond when a call comes in, or if they need to use something, you know, look at paperwork or whatever it may be while they're driving, they need to pull over.
Went from talk to reality.
Yeah, it really did. And I think overwhelmingly it was a positive response. In fact, some of the employees told me, you know, we've taken this home, we talked to our our spouses about it. We're doing this at home as well. They understand the importance of it. When you bring someone for preterm hearing, is it because citizen reported or because supervisor? Okay, we have another question. When you bring someone in for a preterm hearing, is it because a citizen reported it, or is it because their supervisor observed them? The answer is both. If a citizen reports it and we can substantiate that through an investigation, then we will bring them in for a preterm hearing. Or if a supervisor observes them as well. If it's substantiated through an investigation, and that's something you need to make sure you put in your policy is the investigation part, then yes, we'll bring them in for a preterm hearing. And like I said, and Tom said, so far everybody that's been brought in for a preterm hearing admits to doing it, which is nice, but it goes to show, I think, that they understand the importance of the program and that they feel guilty that they did it.
Right.
You know, it was probably just a reaction to a call come in. Seems like we've been programmed to answer phones.
It's just part of our culture.
Yes. And so, I hope that answered your questions. Using PH records to verify, here's another question. Using PH records to verify they were on the phone. I guess that's what that means.
Do we look at their phone logs?
If it's a City of Tulsa issued phone, the answer is yes. If it's their personal phone and they've been in a collision or at an at-fault collision, and we suspect that they may have been on the phone, or it was a distracted driving incident, we're going to turn that over to our legal department to see if they'll subpoena phone records. Hope that answers your question, Barry. You might want to respond if it didn't.
With your legal department.
Yeah, if you have a legal representative. Barry says yes, that's the answer. You know, it's not the safety manager's duty, I don't think, to do those type of things. That's attorneys' jobs.
Look like your video's going to work.
I don't know if you can hear me, Katie. Do you think the video is going to work?
Yeah, just 1 second here, sorry.
Okay. We're happy to answer any other questions you may have. How's things going now, Tom, in the program?
It's become, it's just part of the culture now. You know, the initial resistance was just real. I mean, you're telling somebody they can't do something they've done for real and for all their life, and all of a sudden you're saying don't do it. And then once they see that they're for real and people are either being suspended or terminated or addressed, it got real quick. 100%, absolutely not. You still got folks that are going to play games with you.
Yeah, occasionally you see somebody with a Bluetooth in their ear. Or
sure. Bluetooth, the new technology of the headsets, and it's getting trickier all the time.
And have they stopped putting hands-free abilities in the vehicles you're purchasing, or is it?
I believe that's correct, unless it comes standard with it for that. But, I mean, we don't allow hands-free either, so.
So you don't spec out that?
No.
Spec them out or spec them in, either way. But they know not to use it. Aha.
Okay, so sorry, here we go.
Most people believe they can multitask while driving. The human brain can miss up to 50% of a person's driving environment while they're talking on behind the wheel of their vehicle. As a result, it can be fatal. You can't drive down a road in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, or the United States with someone that's not on a phone, someone that's not texting, or they're distracted in some way or another. The National Safety Council reports that simple mistakes while driving leads to 1.6 billion crashes each year. Motor vehicle crashes are among the top 2 causes of injury death within a person's lifetime. This is the number City of Tulsa is leading the way by implementing a distracted driving policy that addresses texting and talking on the phone while driving a city vehicle or conducting city business. And it starts with getting the message to employees. The human brain does not truly multitask. The City of Tulsa safety team invited David Teeter from the National Safety Council to speak to department heads, managers, and supervisors on the importance of educating city employees on the dangers of distracted driving. I'm absolutely convinced that this policy will save at least one life, and maybe a lot more than that. Not just in Tulsa, but maybe in other cities around the country. Years of research, detailed studies, and analysis prove it's hard to do much of anything behind the wheel except drive. We now know that the answer to a telephone conversation, a conversation with somebody who is not in your environment, it's more cognitively demanding than we ever dreamed. And we've always known that driving a vehicle is cognitively demanding. So the brain's got to choose one. Sheena Selmas lost her 19-year-old daughter to distracted driving. She had just made the cheerleading squad of a pro team. Her daughter wasn't texting. She was walking on the phone, headed to a gym about 3 miles from home.
That I can think of that any of us take that can't wait to overthink the thought somewhere. Most of the men in this room have had what I have not heard. We're not supposed to know those things.
Road crashes are the leading cause of accidental deaths on and off the job. People who drive while talking on their cell phones are 4 times as likely to meet the crash. Though text while driving are 8 times as likely to meet the crash. How often are you exposed to that risk?
Okay, Service Center, let me get those safe location pulled over and I'll take that.
Safe driving is just a small part of what the City of Tulsa is committed to. We owe it to our families. The nice thing about cities like Tulsa is being in a leadership role, you're a large, incredible city. I mean, other cities will follow this example. I know they will. So why not follow the city's lead? Take steps. Practice-free zone. Not only the lives of others. Please remember that all non-emergency use of handheld or hands-free mobile phones and mobile electronic data devices will be banned while driving vehicles or operating equipment to reduce the potential for distracted driving collisions. To avoid distracted driving, make a commitment to yourself to be an attentive driver. Do not allow yourself to be drawn into distractions of mobile communication tools and other distractions. Put your phone on silent. Place it in your purse, briefcase, or console. Stay alert. Driving. Park in a safe location using your mobile phones and electronic data devices. Do paperwork, program, and navigation devices. Do not try to locate objects inside the vehicle, eat, or perform any other tasks that would cause you distracted while driving. Road and highway shoulders are not considered safe locations for you to park. A safe location is when your vehicle is safely out of the way of other vehicles traveling at moderate to high speeds, and your vehicle is not causing a travel or sight restriction. Most parking lots are considered ideal locations. During low light or no light times, choose a well-lit area to park. Be aware of your surroundings and roll up your windows and lock your doors. If you feel your personal safety may be jeopardized, create an agreed-upon mobile communications process. If you manage employees, discuss responsible mobile phone use procedures with your employees that allow for efficient communications and eliminate distracted driving. Set a different ringtone and text tones for specific phone numbers. Tell people who call you often to call you twice in a row. That way you'll know the call is important and can find a safe location to park and return the call.
Okay, so Eddie, that was actually the one off of
National Safety Council?
the NSC website.
Yeah.
I was not able to get the YouTube video up. You may go ahead and try and do that now.
No, maybe Can you go back to the slideshow? It has the address if they want to look at it, because we couldn't hear it.
Oh, I apologize. There you go, right there.
Can anybody still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Eddie.
Okay.
Can you hear that any better?
Yeah, but maybe they just would rather go to the YouTube site and watch it themselves.
Percent of a person's driving environment.
You want to pause it, and the link was there, and then go back to our slideshow. We can give them our contact information.
Okay. Okay, let me get back there. Sorry. I apologize for all the issues here.
No problem.
This is new. Sharing the application is new to me. So. I think that what's pretty impressive, though, or what's pretty interesting to me, Eddie, is the fact that it took you 4 years to get that going. I mean, you started the process in 2011, correct?
Yes. We started grassroots efforts in 2011, and it took, it was about 2014 before the leadership was ready to do something about it. It was 2015 when we actually, 2015 when we actually implemented, 2016, I'm sorry. It was 2015 when leadership said, let's do it. But we were ready. That was the point I was trying to make, was we knew at some point leadership was going to be ready, so we were already ready with policy. All we had to do was get it in front of the unions, the different departments. Everybody comes to agreement, yes, this is how we want it to read, and this will work for everybody. We made sure a policy that was going to be workable for everybody was going to be implemented. And then we, of course, had the education packet ready to go as well. But, you know, Katie, that's typical government. It takes a while for things to happen.
Sure, sure. I just think it's extremely impressive that, you know, you continued on and got it done. I mean, that just shows your commitment and your coworkers' commitment. So if you want to go ahead and take it back over,
Okay.
Just finish up with anything else you have to say there, Eddie.
Okay, well, I did bring up, Tom brings up an important point. I mean, in 2011, I think it was. What did you tell me?
We implemented the no texting policy before we did all of it with the phone, including the phone in 2015.
Yeah, so in 2011, we actually, all employees knew they could not text while driving. We implemented that in 2011. And I think it was 2016, wasn't it, when Oklahoma finally put that law into effect? So it took a lot longer, a few more years to go to a full, and I hate to use the word ban, but a full ban on any electronic devices while driving. Just prohibited the use of it. But here's our contact information, and I want to thank our Driving Concern program for letting us do this webinar. Our Driving Concern is an incredible program. I hope you all get an opportunity to check it out. I think it is actually making a difference in a lot of different business and communities as well. And I know it will here in Oklahoma as well, because they're moving here from Texas to Oklahoma. They have a lot of success in Texas. I guess we're done.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Very good. Enjoyed it.
I want to thank you, Eddie and Tom, for doing the presentation today. We appreciate you taking time out of your day, and we appreciate everyone else. Again, if you would, please fill out the post-event survey, and if you would like a copy of the presentation, you just note that in the comments section of the post-event survey. It should pop up as soon as you disconnect. So I want to thank everybody for today.